For the first time since Halloween and for the first time since week 2, the New York Jets have a win on a Sunday. And of course, they had to give every Jet fan palpitations doing it. Hello, everyone, and welcome to Rich Sports Talk, your home for all the latest and greatest for the New York Jets. Make sure to give us a like, a subscribe, so you don't miss any of our latest content. And of course, check out our podcast wherever podcasts are streaming. Again, guys, we have a new feature for you, Super Chats, baby. Cut the line. Use those great stickers as we are expanding the channel. So Super Chats now available here on Rich Sports Talk. And I think Dano Jets said it the best. I was screaming to Neil it 3 times at the end of the game, and the pick that helped sauce. We'll dive into all this today, but it just feels good that the Jets got a win. There's so much to dive into: the draft position, Aaron Rodgers' performance, his future with this team, Devontae Adams, incredible day, 198 yards receiving. But this goes to what we've talked about all season, which is the coaching. I think that the coaching for the New York Jets has been the biggest weakness for this team, because many Jet fans, again, it feels like the Jet fans unfortunately have better common sense to their coaches. And the Jets allow the Jaguars to tie the game. They're driving. Devontae Adams with a huge play gets the ball down to the 1-yard line. And all the announcers were saying what we were all thinking: the Jets can kneel it out, get the clock down to almost 0, and kick a chip shot. Now, again, I know Anders Carlson and missed a 48-yarder, but this is a chip shot. Should be easy. But instead, Jeff Ulbrich and the staff call a Breece Hall run. And again, I wonder if Breece Hall's on their fantasy teams. But they call a Breece Hall run and a touchdown with over a minute to go. And every Jet fan I know is thinking the same thing: good God, the Jaguars are going to go down the field and score. But luckily, Jeff Ulbrich was saved by Sauce Gardner. Sauce Gardner getting his first pick since 2022, sealing the game. Ulbrich on the decision to run for the TD. I wanted to be aggressive there. I wanted the points. Again, this coaching staff is mind-numbing how they've handled situations. And look at the Jets coming into this game. They were 0-7 in one-possession games. Now they are 1-7. The way that they botched the clock at the end of the game was just incredible. Interesting stat: Devontae Adams had 135 receiving yards in the final 4 minutes of regulation, the most by any player in a game this century per ESPN research. So the Jets, of course, have found ways to create new stats and new stat lines for the negative. So I guess they finally finished with a positive. Aaron Rodgers, 3 touchdowns today. I thought he played very well. An interesting stat, and look, I've been in the camp of I don't want Rodgers back for the long term, but my thought process was, at this point, I would maybe look at it a little bit. And the only reason I would look at it is just because of this. I just get this feeling that with Rodgers, there's not a better option long term. And again, I leave this up to the new GM. I leave this up to the new head coach coming in. But I just look at this situation right now and I go, is there a better quarterback? Rodgers, the last 7 games, 13 touchdowns, 1 pick, 100.4 rating. You kind of are like, maybe it's not the worst thing to bring him back. But look, the big thing is the Jets' victory today. The Jets improved to 4 wins on the season. I know this is, of course, nowhere near where we were expecting this team to be. So, and look, I get the frustration for everyone out there right now. I get why you want this team to be a better team. I understand the frustration of why you wanted this team to be in a better spot. But here's my big thing coming into today, because I know it feels so Jetsian that the Jets would win this game, that they would beat the Jaguars in a game where it really doesn't matter, where the season's pretty much over. But here are my thoughts on this game, especially regarding the draft position. Now, again, You guys can disagree with me. You can tell me what you think. And again, use those super chats to get your comments to the front of the line. The draft position, and again, we're still waiting for some of the earlier games to finish up to get the official where the Jets are going to be. But the Jets coming in today were the 7th pick. And with the win today, amazingly, guys, guess what? They are going to be the 8th pick. They dropped one spot. The Jets are going to go and be a top 10 pick. The Jets are going to have a top 10 pick in this draft. That is without the question. Now, again, I know a lot of people wanted to get to the top of this draft. It was a race to get to the top in order to get the great quarterback. But here's the problem, guys. I don't think that there is a great quarterback. There's no home run prospects like last year. And with this quarterback class, as talented as this quarterback class was the year before, there's a lot of projects. There's a lot of guys that really are going to have to sit. Even a guy like Jalen Milroe, who I really like and I think is a talented quarterback, to me, someone that's going to have to sit. He's going to have someone that observes behind a veteran quarterback, whether it's a bridge quarterback. But look, I know there's going to be a lot of fans upset about the draft position. Here's the thing. I don't think the Giants of Vegas are going to win another game. I think they're going to get the 1 or 2 pick. I thought the best the Jets would be top 5. But look, the Jets, even with 4 wins, here's the thing I look at. I don't think the Jets are going to win another game. At the very least, the one game I can maybe see them winning is the Miami game. But even so, if they finish with 5 wins, they're going to have a top 10 pick. And in this draft coming up, this isn't a great draft, but you want to be in the top 10 to get one of these blue chip players. So look, I get the frustration from the Jet fan that wanted this team to be in the top 5 pick, maybe a top 3 pick. But I have a different view of this draft pick. And again, I know a lot of people are going to view this differently. I know there's going to be a lot of frustration because, again, this team is aggravating to this fan base because when we want them to win, they don't win. When it doesn't matter, they seem to win. But ultimately, here's my thoughts on the draft. My ultimate thoughts are with this upcoming draft is, yes, it's important to get a good player, but the Jets have a talented young core already with Sauce Gardner, with Garrett Wilson, with Breece Hall, with Olu, who I thought had a great game today. They have a good young core, and we've heard it all this year. This team doesn't know how to win. And yes, this is a terrible Jaguars team. Yes, they were playing Mac Jones. Yes, this is a bad football team they're playing, but they found a way to win games. Now, I know we're at the point where we shouldn't be looking for these moral victories for this Jet team, especially the staff, but I just look at these guys. If you want Breece Hall here, if you want Garrett Wilson here, if you want Sauce Gardner here, if you want them to reach their potential, you want them to find ways to win football games. You want them to be great football players. You want them to learn how to win. And yes, is this a meaningless game in the grand scheme of things? Yes. Is this a game that's going to impact the 2024 season? No. Does it impact the draft stock? Slightly. But the big thing is you want these players to learn. You want these core players to experience some success. And yes, it is a little bit misleading. Yes, I understand that in the grand scheme of things, you are frustrated as a fan base because you're just saying to yourself, oh, come on. Like, really? Now we win football games where a lot of this fan base is rooting for the tanking. This is the difference for me. When the Jets were trying to tank a couple years ago for Trevor Lawrence, I understood it because it was what we thought at the time, a generational prospect. There is not a generational quarterback that's going to save the Jets. There are a couple of prospects in this draft that are intriguing. But my also thought process too is if the Jets don't love a quarterback in this draft, don't draft them. If you are drafting a quarterback, it's like a relationship. If you are drafting a quarterback, it's because you want to marry that person. It's because you see a long-term future with that guy. If you are going into this draft and you're the Jets and you're saying, well, I want to date the guy and kind of see and maybe marriage, it has to be, no, we want to marry this person. That's how it comes down to this quarterback class. And if there's one of those guys in this draft class and you have the opportunity to trade up or draft him where you are, that's phenomenal. But if there isn't, I think you have to be a little bit wary of drafting. But look, I get a lot of people are going to be pissed. I can't believe the Jets won a meaningless game. I didn't think the Jets were going to be picking at the top of the draft, but they're going to be picking in the top 10. According to Tankathon right now, Jets would be picking 8th. Now, again, this can change. Vegas plays tomorrow night. That impacts the number 1 pick. If they lose, then they jump the Giants. Giants currently are the number 1 pick. So ahead of the Jets right now are Carolina with 3 wins, Jacksonville with 3 wins, Tennessee with 3 wins, Cleveland with 3 wins, and New England with 3 wins. New England plays later today, of course. The only other 4-win team is Chicago, 4-9. They have the 9th pick. New Orleans is sitting at 5-9 with the 10th pick in the draft. But looking at today, I thought it was frustrating with the running game. I wish the Jets would have stuck to the run game a little bit more. I think they got away from it. I know it wasn't successful. Breece Hall, again, you can tell, not 100%. I am of the philosophy I would shut him down. I would shut him down just to be safe. But Aaron Rodgers also, as good as it was today, it was a little bit frustrating because Garrett Wilson missed a big throw earlier in this game. Then you saw Garrett not get a target from the first quarter to the fourth quarter. Grant, Devontae 8, 9 catches, 198 yards, 2 touchdowns. Garrett 3 catches, 56 yards and a TD as well. This defense was frustrating because there were so many times in this game where you were looking for a big play. Solomon Thomas had a big sack in this game. Jalen Mills, of course, ended the interception route, and Sauce Gardner closed it. But I want to stick with the defense for a little bit. Again, guys, comment in the live stream as well. Give us a share. And, of course, use that new Super Chat feature that we have now if you want to jump the line. So my thought process is, and I'm a little surprised, guys, because, again, I thought we'd get a little bit more viewership right now. Again, still thankful for everyone that's in the chat right now. Maybe people just here for the misery when the Jets lose, but I'm surprised. I thought we'd have a little bit more celebrating the Jets win today. The big thing with this Jet team, as I'm sitting here, and I'll get to your comments in a little bit, is I'm kind of curious with this coaching carousel where you see the Jets win a game like today, and you see the coaching staff almost trying to lose this game, where you saw this coaching staff basically could have kneed out the clock, gone to the end of the game, and kicked the field goal. But instead, they scored a touchdown and put the defense back on the field again. It reminded me of what last week, the horrible time management by this coaching staff. You have to wonder if a guy like a Mike Vrabel or one of these senior head coaches is going to look at this and go, maybe even with Aaron Rodgers, and go, you know what? This team isn't that bad. They just have god-awful coaching. Because the time management today was horrendous. The Jets could have easily made this a game where they walked out with, and again, I understand Carlson missed the 48-yarder, but that's a chip shot. If he misses that field goal, you cut him tomorrow because that's a gimme in today's NFL. So I just look at that situation and I understand that everyone's looking at it and going, why aren't the Jets just doing the obvious? Why aren't they just kneeing it down, getting to the end of the game, kicking the field goal? But unfortunately, fortunately, I guess the Jets were able to come out with a victory today. They were able to figure it out. It wasn't pretty. It wasn't sexy. But the big thing is they were able to win. And look, Devontae Adams, 135 yards in the last 4 minutes. That is a good thing. And here's my thing. Even if Rodgers isn't here, and I'm curious what Devontae's thoughts are, I would try to bring Devontae Adams back. I think he would be really good for any quarterback. The question is he going to want to stay here without Aaron? I don't know if that he would, but that is definitely something to discuss. But he's something I would definitely keep. I want Aaron Rodgers to win the next 3 games to F Woody. This is all I don't get that, dude. Like, gee, I get the frustration, but I don't get why you want to do that to Woody right now. And look, I don't think the Jets are going to win the next 3 games. I could see them sneaking the final game of the season, but they're playing the Rams at home on the 22nd. I don't see them beating them. The Rams are still looking for a playoff spot. They go to at Buffalo on the 29th. I don't see that happening. I think that the Bills are going to look to still be getting home field advantage. I mean, the Dolphins are the interesting one in the final week of it. So we'll have to see how that all plays out. But this was definitely a game where I know this is a mixed feeling for a lot of Jet fans. Personally, I'm happy with the win. This isn't a quarterback class where I'm saying, oh, they have to tank to get a certain quarterback. I think a lot of these quarterbacks, there's some intriguing ones, but I'm not exactly running and screaming and trying to race to the top to get one of these quarterbacks. I think there's some decent ones, but there's not like one where I'm like, okay, I have to get this quarterback. Hopefully there's one the Jets like in this upcoming draft, but I just really don't see it. But look, I think it was a good win for the Jets today. And as much as frustrating as it is as we get to Dano Jets, and again, use that super chat feature. Aaron, if we were 10-3, we probably knew it, but we're 3-10, Okay. Man, this team is just so they never can just make it easy. They just never can make it freaking easy. And look, uh, look, it's still the same win. You want to win the game. It doesn't matter at this point where Dano, I give Dano a lot of credit. Like, that's a great selection there, but wow, like it's just. I mean, it's also a good thing too when Aaron led the team in rushing today. Like, this team needs to stick to the run. I think they get too pass happy at times, but overall, I thought some of the young kids really flashed today, which is what I'm looking for. Olu looks like a stalwart at left tackle. It's a night and day difference, and it also makes you wonder what this coaching staff was seeing in practice. Because I'm watching Olu, and it is night and day with Tyron Smith. And maybe part of it is they respect Tyron Smith. It's one of those things where he's a Hall of Famer. They don't want to disrespect him. They don't want to embarrass him. But you're watching Olu out there against arguably some of the best pass rushers. I mean, the Jaguars have everything they have wrong in the team. They have some good pass rushers. And you're seeing Olu stalwart some of these great pass rushers. And you're going, okay, Olu can make the team and start for the first couple games of the season, especially when Tyron was really struggling. Maybe they thought he was going to figure out, but it is just night and day with Olu out there and Morgan Moses. And look, I know a lot of people, we've gotten into the debates about Brock Bowers on this channel. I still think Olu was the right pick. And if he's a franchise left tackle, which I think he's going to be, I think that it was a great pick. Again, guys, use that super chat to jump the line. Shame on the Jets for winning. Why win if it means nothing? Look, Christopher, I get it. But look, the thing is, it doesn't impact that. Everyone's like making it sound like the Jets dropped from, oh my God, the Jets are the number 2 pick in the draft. Now they're picking 12. Today they came in, they were the 7th pick. They leave today, they're the 8th pick. For all we know, if New England loses, the Jets maybe even jump them and get the 7th pick back. I mean, the thing is with this draft class, and I'm going to get into it on this channel, so make sure you like and subscribe so you don't miss any of that content coming up. This is a very top-heavy class. As long as you're in the top 10, I think you're in a good spot. I just don't love the quarterbacks in this draft. If the Jets could walk out of here with like a Mason Graham, who I think is a really good player, even an Abdul Carter, I understand that there's some people that are a little bit skeptical of maybe drafting another pass rusher, even though some good edges. Even if in the late they get like a Malachi Starks, I think the Jets would be okay. But look, everyone's like going to make a big deal. Oh my God, I can't believe the Jets dropped so far in the draft. The big thing with this team is this is a talented team, and this isn't like, oh my God, there's an amazing quarterback in this draft. So I get that there's going to be fans that are going to be frustrated with this. Personally, I think it's more important to get the win, especially for guys that you have, the young guys here, Sauce Gardner, Garrett Wilson, who have, unfortunately, they're starting to even say it like it doesn't seem whatever we do matters because we are going to lose the football game. So Dano with the super chat. Congrats on the channel monetization, bro. Keep killing it. Yes, of course. And I see you with the drinks. So cheers to Dano. Got my complimentary New York Mets mug. And of course, I'm on cloud 9 because of the Juan Soto signing. Again, as you know, Mets and Jets. I mean, maybe Steve Cohen will buy the Jets one day. That is a prayer for mine. So again, thank you for the super chat. Jump the line with that super chat. Play to win every game. You're dealing with humans. Absolutely, Dano. It is one of those things. 14 years with an average coach to have the team was a playoff team. I agree. Like, think about it. Like, you could ask a middle school football coach in that situation. They're like, we're going to run the clock down. Even if we can't kick a field goal, we're going to leave no time for them to score. And everyone was thinking it like I was thinking. You're like, yeah, I could just see Mac Jones going down the field. Like, could you imagine if Mac Jones went down the field, they scored the 2-point conversion and forced an overtime? Look, this Jet defense has some players. I still think Sauce is a talented player. Quincy's a talented player. Damian Sherwood's a talented player. But you look at this team right now and this defense, they've been given the opportunity to close out games. They had the opportunity last week to close out a game, and they failed miserably. So I don't trust this defense as well. But look, that's the one thing you wonder 14 years. And like I said to start the show, is a coach looking at this team like a Mike Vrabel looking at this team going, even with Aaron Rodgers, and saying, damn, this team, if they had any situational awareness, they'd be above 500 right now. If they actually knew how to finish games or know situational football. Because, like, and even Olberg after the game defiantly saying, we wanted points. Yeah, we wanted points. You needed 3 to win the damn game, Jeff. Jeff, I know this is probably going to ruin your chances to be a head coach, but I mean, if you are ever going to look at a future head coach, you're kind of like, yeah, doesn't really know the situation. No, so yeah. So Sauce Gardner, of course, making fun of the interception today, especially after Mac Jones, gave him the love tap to the groin a couple of years ago. So, but look, I'm one of these people too. Like after today's game, I try to bring Devontae back even without Aaron, just because I think this is someone that you look at how he's respected in this locker room, how he's come up in crunch time. This is someone I really want. Boogie down BX. Good win. I hate losing. I think we all hate losing as well. Dano, you don't get it, do you? I don't want to lose for the tank. My mission is to make sure they lose every year to humiliate the Johnsons. Okay. So Christopher is getting into a little bit of a war with Dano Jets here. And again, guys, that super chat is available. You can jump the line. And also make sure to give us a like and subscribe. Make sure you check out us, as always, on our podcast. Again, guys, I have a special video coming for you this week. As we get to the off season, I'm going to do a full breakdown of the Joe Douglas draft class. I've gone through every single Joe Douglas pick. I've graded them, and I'm going to give you a grade of those. And then, of course, we'll have a lot more throughout this offseason. The head coach cycle, who I like as candidates, who I want the Jets to hire, who I think they should completely avoid. Then, of course, the draft process. We do a bunch of mock drafts here on the channel. And, of course, talk about the NFL draft in nauseum. So make sure you are here for all of that as we get there and talk about all of this as well. But, again, the Jets with the win today, and everyone that's panicking about the tank, the Jets dropped one spot. They're picking 8th. They came into the day picking 7th. Although I will say, though, I really am of the mindset that I'm so curious with the Giants right now. And I talked yesterday about the Bill Belichick thing. I'm surprised Bill didn't wait to the end of the season, because I just get this feeling the Giants are going to clean house. It's getting ugly, like Jets level ugly. They're flying planes over MetLife Stadium right now. So that definitely will be something I'm very interested in following going forward. Dano. Okay. All right. As we're getting into a little bit of a war in the comments with Dano, as Dano, of course, again, I'm going to try to appear on Dano's channel at some point, probably talking a little bit of NFL draft at some point, or the head coaching carousel. So make sure to give him a like and subscribe as well. But again, guys, this is a great space to vent. I know a lot of people are kind of all over the place with this Jet win. Look, I thought this was a big win. It's nice to see the Jets figure out how to win a crucial football game. And I'm of the mindset that it's more important to the guys in that room, because as much as people are frustrated about this team, there is still a good young core here. And you want this young core to figure out how to win games. Yes, this was a bad team. Yes, it was ugly. But is it a good thing that you get Sauce's first pick since 2022 and he's able to close out a game and boost his confidence? Although Jeff Ulbrich apparently doesn't have the idea to, I don't know, let him shadow Brian Thomas and let Brian Thomas rampage for over 100 yards and 2 touchdowns. But again, I think what's so frustrating about this team is, again, you're just seeing such a discrepancy from the coaching to the talent on this team. And you're like, if they had a halfway decent head coach, that this team would be so much better, in such a better spot, because this is such it's a team that they have talent. They have playmakers. They're able to score points. And look, this is the first time they got to 30 points all season, but it's nice to get in the win column. It's nice for this young team to really be able to finish off a game, finish off and get a big win on the road. And yes, I know it's the Jaguars. Yes, I know they are a bad football team. I know you're frustrated because they're 4-10. I know a lot of people are frustrated because, again, this moves them slightly down the draft order. But the big thing is I look at this as, look, I think that there's a lot of intriguing quarterbacks in this next draft. I don't think there's a home run quarterback in the next draft, but this is a situation where I look at this team, I look at this organization, I look at how this is all structured, and I just look at this as a situation where I go, okay, I really like the way that this team has a good young core. I still think that this is a team that has some talent. I still think that this is a team that can do a lot going forward, even if it's with Aaron Rodgers or a different quarterback next year. I just feel like if you can get the head coach right, that this is going to be a team that is a lot better. Because, again, coming into the game, they were 0-7 in one-possession games. You have a decent head coach, even if you go 500 in that span. I mean, look at today. If they have 4 more wins, you tack on extra win, they have 7 wins today. They're in the hunt for a wild card. And that all comes down to coaching. And I just look at this team, and I know it's frustrating as a fan because it just feels like we can never have our cake and eat it too, because there's a lot of us that are secretly rooting for this team to lose at this point because it's all about the draft position, for everyone screaming that, oh my God, the draft position is so important. Look, the Jets are going to come out of this with the top 10 pick. They're going to have a top 10 pick. And for everyone screaming, oh my God, they screwed their draft stats, maybe to get the number 1 pick, but I still think that would have been so hard for them to get. They've dropped 1 spot. They were the 7th pick coming into the day, according to Tankathon. Guess what? They've dropped all the way to 8. 1 pick. But this was a big win, I think, to this team. I think Devontae is a building block I would really like to bring back, even though I'm not sure he will want to play with this team if Rodgers isn't here, but we'll have to see. I think that there's certain players at this point, like this point of the season, you're looking for building blocks. One building block I would bring back is Morgan Moses, even on a 1-year deal. This offensive line looks completely different. Morgan Moses bringing an attitude and a swagger to the right tackle position. He's playing with the cast, but he's still performing. He's someone I would bring in. And if you want the new GM to reevaluate Carl Warner, reevaluate Max Mitchell, maybe with a better line coach, they can be developed. But maybe they draft someone in round 3, round 4 to be a developmental tackle behind Morgan Moses. I'm all for that. I just feel like, especially if you're able to bring back Morgan Moses and have all 5 offensive line positions, this isn't a bad offensive line. Is it an elite offensive line? No, but it's still an above-average offensive line, and an offensive line that you laugh because it took all this time for Joe Douglas to build it. And, of course, he's no longer here, although he was on the sideline with Howie Roseman. So I do think it is pretty clear that Joe Douglas is going to have some kind of a job with the Philadelphia Eagles going forward. So that of course, doesn't surprise me as well. But look, I thought Jalen Mills, until he got hurt, had a good game. I thought that there's certain disappointing players today. Jeremy Ruckert, I thought, was going to have a great opportunity. Tyler Conklin was not in this game because of the birth of his first child. And again, congratulations to the Conklin family on their first child. Great to see them. Again, Tyler Conklin, a great guy. Great to see that, and happy for his family. But for me, Jeremy Ruckert, and it hurts to say this, especially because you know this is a kid that grew up rooting for the Jets. This is his dream. But unfortunately for Ruckert, it's becoming more of a great story as opposed to a great performance. And again, guys, if you want to jump the line, make sure to use that super chat feature on the chat and make sure you jump ahead. Brees doesn't impress me anymore, man. I don't get it. Look, Brees is hurt, Dano. Like, I think they should have shut down Brees today. It's nice he got the touchdown. He's dealing with the knee injury. I would have just let Braylon Allen and Isaiah Davis play out the stretch. And I don't think they're using him right, dude. Brees is a talented running back, but he's also an elite receiver. I still go back to that catch he had against a linebacker jumping in coverage this year. To me, he could be an elite slot receiver. I don't know why they don't use him more. Like, I just look at formations, and I keep drawing up formations, like put Braylon Allen as a halfback, but then put Brees Hall as a wide receiver. Like, how many play designs? Like, again, I'm not looking to be hired as the Jets OC, but I just look at situations where I'm like, could you imagine a play design where you have Brees Hall in the slot, you have a motion in the backfield with Braylon Allen, you snap the ball, And then you could have the option to, I don't know, hand it off to Brees on a sweep in full speed. You have the option to hand it off on the inside to Allen. You could do play action off of that. You can set up a bubble screen. Like, there's so much creativity. But unfortunately, the Jets and the staff don't have creativity. We're going to be in a position to draft Banks, I guess, but we will miss out on a true high-ceiling quarterback. Puts us in the area behind the build. That's why I'm frustrated. And look out, I get it. But the other thing I look at too is if you don't love a quarterback in this draft, and there's certain features I like about the quarterbacks in this draft, but there isn't a quarterback that sticks out to me. I love, there's certain kids I look at and I think, okay, they have some interesting talent. I would not touch Shadur Sanders with the Jets. And plus, I don't think Deion's going to want him to play there. Cam Ward is probably my favorite quarterback for this class. I think Jalen Milroe has a lot of physical traits that I really love, but to me, he's got to sit a full year. I think Drew Aller is an intriguing prospect, but I have this feeling too, because Drew Aller, especially in the last week and a half, because of the physicals, has gotten a lot of praise, has gotten a lot of pub. Here's my thoughts on him. I really like him as a prospect, but I will not be surprised if he's a first-round pick, because this happens every single year. We're here in December, and I remember it last year. Oh, J.J. McCarthy's not a first-round quarterback. He's barely a second-round quarterback. Oh, Michael Penix might be drafted in the second round. I don't know. And then, of course, and I was saying all last year, I think you're going to see 5 quarterbacks go in the top 5. Oh, you're crazy. Well, look what happened. And look, J.J. McCarthy. Oh, Bo Nix is a second or third round quarterback. He went 12. J.J. McCarthy. Oh, he's a second round quarterback. He went 10. Michael Penix. He went number 8. Like, you're going to see a rise on him. And I feel like the Jets, to me, the most important pick in this draft for the Jets is going to be their second rounder. Because if they don't fall in love with a quarterback, the question then becomes, is there someone that they feel they could develop? And here's my thoughts on this. And I see a lot of chats, guys. I'll get to them. Make sure to use the super chat feature, to use the stickers, and, of course, to jump the front of the line. My biggest thing with the quarterbacks is I don't want to overdraft them in the first round. But if you really like a project quarterback, you have to almost use that second round pick to trade back in the first round for a couple of reasons. Number one, you can't chance it, most importantly. But number two, if you really believe in a guy, it makes sense to burn that extra draft capital to get the 5th-year option. Because if you hit on that quarterback, even though it's a late first round pick, you get that 5th-year option, so you don't have to pay that quarterback a year early. That, to me, is the most important. He's a good receiver for a running back, but not for a receiver. Like, I get it. I'm not saying Scott to play him all the time at wide receiver, but I'm saying they need to utilize him, move him all over the board like a chess piece. I've said here Cam Moore has what it takes to be a true franchise quarterback. I like that, Alex, but I don't think the Jets are going to get him. I think he's going to be the first pick in this draft. Now, the one thing is if Vegas gets the number 1 pick, maybe Sanders gets it. Now, the problem is, like, you have to fall in love with the kid, because I think the Jets are going to have to trade up to get him. So I like Ward. I think Ward brings a lot to the table. Will he be available there? I think right now where it stands, the Jets are more in the Milroe range, and that's going to be a big question, because I like the tools Milroe has in the toolbox, but it's got to be to this front office and this coach. Like, do they love him? First of all, I wouldn't play him. I would let him sit for a while because he needs to develop, but he's got a lot of tools. Like, he's one of these guys in the draft. Like, I like the tools, and if they can develop him, he can maybe be even the high-end quarterback in this draft. But it's got to be someone that you develop correctly. If you develop him correctly, he can be a really talented quarterback. But there is a lot of if there. Man, Josh Allen is cooking the Lions right now. Boo. Yeah, well, that's one thing. And, like, it's funny because I talked about my Joe Douglas draft grades, and we're going to talk about the, we're going to talk about that, the whole Zach Wilson pick. But, man, it is kind of amazing with as bad as Mike McCagnon was. When you looked at Mike McCagnon's draft board, he missed on Josh Allen, but at least he had Sam Darnold and Baker Mayfield, who have turned out to be pretty decent pros, where you look at Joe Douglas, and he said that, I think that Zach Wilson is going to be a better pro than Sam Darnold. We all know how that turned out. So But of course, guys, use the super chat to jump to the front of the line. Uh, Rodgers, of course, I thought this was probably one of the best games Rodgers has had this year. He did look healthy. It's such a weird thing because I think this is going to be such a big debate. And there's a lot of different pathways the Jets can go down this offseason, which is, do you bring Rodgers back for one more year? Again, the cap hit's going to be immense no matter what you do. It doesn't make sense. Personally, I don't love all the distractions Rodgers brings. I think Rodgers has shown more of his age than his greatness. Again, I know we'll talk about the 71-yard pass to Devontae Adams, but I also look at the pass where he didn't put enough air under the Garrett Wilson early in the game, and that cost him. I think that you gotta let it be decided by the new GM and the new head coach of what they want to do with the quarterback position, because I do think that there is a lot of discussion with that quarterback position. And my big thought process on that whole thing is, like, I don't hate Rodgers coming back next year, but this coaching staff is the one that's going to have to make the decision, not Aaron Rodgers. It is going to have to be this front office that makes the decision to basically say, okay, we think Rodgers is our best chance to win. And I still, even with Rodgers, would look to bring back a good quarterback. And look, you're changing the whole coaching staff. You're not keeping Jeff Ulbrich. You're completely redoing this coaching staff. If they want to keep Rodgers for next year, great. If they don't, that's fine with me. But this is just one of those things, too, where there's so many different paths for this Jet team. It's not like there's one or two paths the Jets can take this offseason. There's multiple paths, keeping Rodgers, what head coach, what GM. And look, I think that's part of what's scary, is because there's so many paths, you don't know which one's the right path for this Jet team. And look, do I think Rodgers is the biggest problem for this Jet team? No, I still think that is the head coach. But it's also one of the things we've seen enough signs to me where we're seeing the age catch up to Rodgers. And for people arguing, well, it'll be another year removed from the Achilles injury next year, maybe he'll even be healthier. He will also be another year older. Now, is that going to hurt or help him in the long term? I don't know. I still think Rodgers has talent, but I also don't love him calling out his teammates, not taking some responsibility for his performance this year. And unfortunately, his best games have come too late. And there's been multiple times where he could have won some big games, that he had the football, but unfortunately, the Jets are where they are, and you are what your record is. And again, congratulations to Devontae Adams, his 100th career touchdown catch today, 135 yards in the last 4 minutes, which is a record. And look, I would love to see Devontae Adams back next year. I'd love to see that pairing with Garrett Wilson for another season. But we'll have to see what he wants to do. If he wants to play with a young quarterback, if he wants to play with a different quarterback than Aaron Rodgers, because I do think that is going to be a big thing. But look, this coaching staff, like, once again, this quarterback, man, like, this whole situation is just so amazing to me, where I want Devontae Adams back next season. But if he doesn't want to be here because Aaron Rodgers is in here, that's fine. Like, if he wants to be here regardless, that's great. I think he's a great locker room guy. But who knows at this point what he wants to do, if he's only going to play with Aaron Rodgers. And I get part of the big reason that he came here was because of Aaron. But if that's going to determine, it's up to the new head coaching staff, and it's up to the new front office what they want to do. Okay, Aaron Rodgers, 2,096 yards. How many yards does he have left to finish? I think I saw a stat today to set the Jets all-time passing record. I think he only needs 240 more yards to do that. So barring something crazy, Rodgers is going to set the Jets all-time pass record this season, which is pretty incredible. And I mean, it's insane too when you think about this team, how we're looking at the quarterback play, this is what we were hoping for. And of course, it's not working out because his defense is absolutely horrendous, because the front office did a terrible job with his defense. Rodgers could work next season. I wouldn't be against it, but I agree that's all up to the new staff. You have 14 years. Like, I'm not against it, it's one of those things too, like, you also have to communicate with Rodgers. Like, if this staff, which again, I think they're going to do, is gonna say, "Look, Aaron, we're drafting a quarterback. You have to be on board with that, or at least not be prickly about it." If he's gonna be prickly about it, be like, "Okay, then we're moving on." Like, that's the thing, because the Jets need to draft a quarterback at some point, whether it's round 1, round 2, round 3. So I just look at this and go, okay, they need to be open to every possibility. Like, they can't be completely sold out to Rodgers. They can't be completely sold out to Rodgers. But my big thing too, and again, maybe this is just a little bit of a tangent right now, but these last 3 games, I want to see certain players play. And one healthy scratch that really pissed me off was Malachi Corley. And I get that Malachi Corley has been disappointing this season, but when you lose the kick returner for the season that scored your only kick return touchdown, can someone explain to me why Malachi Corley can't be returning kicks? Can someone explain to me why he can't be getting some playing time right now? He doesn't have to be a receiver, just on the kick return and punt returns. Like, I want to see him get more reps because he's someone that could be a big impact. I want to see Eric Watts get some more reps over Michael Clemens at defensive end. And I know that this coaching staff is going to try to win, but look, if you want Woody to medal, this is a time where it's like, look, let these young kids play. Let Quantez Stiggers play more. And I thought Quantez actually did pretty decent today. I would let him play more. I'd let some of these younger guys play more. This offensive line, I keep it the way it is, but I would let Kenny Yeboah get more reps at tight end. Especially, I would put him over Jeremy Ruckert right now. I wouldn't play Breece Hall right now. Breece Hall's not 100%. This is a season where you're not going anywhere. Let Braylon Allen get key reps. Let Isaiah Davis get key reps down the stretch. Like, those are guys that I want to see get more touches down the stretch. Even Malachi Corey, like, again, not even as a receiver, just let him return kicks. Like, part of the reason you were so behooving to get him, and again, according to Joe Douglas and Robert Saleh, you had him ahead of Brian Thomas on your big board. Well, that looked really great today, as Brian Thomas just took your lunch money for your over 100 yards and 2 touchdowns. But, we'll get back to the topic at hand. Anyways, I just look at it and say, like, let some of these young guys play. Like, I don't need to see any more from Michael Clemens. I don't need to see any more from Jeremy Ruckert. Like, there's some other guys on this team that this is the time where you put them in games and you want to see them play. Again, guys, Super Chat is available. Use that to jump in front of everyone if you want to get in here. I want to draft the QB. Look, I do too, James. The big thing is it's got to be the right one. I'm of the opinion, like, I want the Jets to draft the QB, but if it's not the right QB, I'd rather them not take a quarterback next year and not overstretch to get a quarterback. Like, that's the big thing with this draft. And I'll say it all off season. I'm going to sound like a broken record. If you love a quarterback and you want to marry that quarterback and you feel he is a franchise quarterback, fine. But if you are like, well, we'll date, we'll see how it goes, maybe it might work out, then no. Don't do it. Just let it pass. I know you don't want to kick the can down the road for another year, but with a quarterback, you got to fall in love with him, because the worst thing you can do is get stuck with a quarterback you're about. Ask the Giants how they work with Daniel Jones. They were with Daniel Jones for years. He's okay. Maybe if we give him this or that, maybe if Mercury's in retrograde, it will work. No. You have to love the quarterback that you have there. You have to fall in love with the guy there. So if you're just going to take a guy and just hope, maybe it might work, possibly, potentially, although I will laugh, though. The Jets social media team, I love, but man, they're going to get a lot of heat from Jet fans today, because now I see them promoting Davante Adams for the Pro Bowl. Okay, you do realize if he makes the Pro Bowl that changes the draft pick, right? Like, can someone let the social media team know, hey, we don't want Davante Adams to the Pro Bowl because that's going to impact the draft selection? Can Woody Johnson page someone at Forum Park saying, hey, social media team, maybe put the highlights of Davante, but don't do the Pro Bowl retweet. And Jet fans, don't retweet. I love Davante, but Don't send him to the Pro Bowl. Please, we need the draft capital. Stop this right now. Please stop the count. Don't let this go any further. Like, I just laugh because I'm like, man, like, I love the Jets social media team. I know they have probably one of the most difficult jobs in sports, but come on, can you please not do this now? Please, like, post Sauce Gardner's pick, post the catch by Devontae, post the touchdown run, but please don't be pushing Devontae to the Pro Bowl. James, how about Sam Howell, bring him and then draft? Okay, yeah, I don't think that's going to happen. Like, I'm curious too, like, with some of these quarterbacks, like, could you maybe try Justin Fields, like, to compete with Jordan Travis as a backup for next year? Jameis Winston may be a possibility. There's so many different routes this team could go. One thing that is unfortunate, I think Sam Darnold will be the best pick for this team, but two things. Number one, I don't think he's ever going to want to come back to the Jets. And number two, I don't think Minnesota's going to let him go. I think that Minnesota might give him a contract, maybe see what goes with J.J. McCarthy, maybe try to trade J.J. McCarthy at some point as well. But look, here are my thoughts. My final thoughts. I think that this was a big win for the Jets. I think that this was a crucial win for this team. And I know a lot of people are upset because of the draft. Number one, the Jets only dropped one draft spot. It's not like they dropped from 7 to 15 today. I don't think they're winning another game this season. That's my honest opinion. This, to me, was the one game they were going to win. I thought this was a winnable game, and they made that a nail biter too. My big thing too is I think it was a great game for Devontae. I'd like that Sauce gained some confidence. My biggest thing for this win is you have a core here with Sauce, with Brees, with Garrett. You want them to win. You want them to know what it's like to win, but more importantly, how to win games. Because that's something that this core has not been able to do. And again, I know it's the Jaguars. I know it's December. I know it's a game that doesn't in the grand scheme mean anything. But if you want this core to succeed, and I think it's a talented core, you want them to experience the success, learn from the success, and more importantly, build on this success. Even if in the grand scheme of things, this costs you some draft capital, at the end of the day, I think this was a nice win and a big win for the Jets. And it's a nice way for, it was great to see Sauce Gardner finish this game off. And overall, it's just nice to see the Jets get a win. And for the first time since week 2, we are going to have a victory Monday as a fan base. Thank everyone for joining us. Make sure to like and subscribe for all the latest on Rich Sports Talk. We're going to have plenty more coming this offseason, including the NFL draft content, free agency, coaching carousel, all that's coming. Make sure to give us a like and subscribe. Now we're going to also have the super chat feature, so you can jump the line, use your special stickers here in the super chat. We're really excited to be growing this channel. Make sure to like and subscribe so you don't miss any of our latest content. If you know any Jet fans that want to join our great community, let them know about our channel as we continue to grow in this Jet family and in this Jet content family. But again, guys, thank you so much for joining us here. We'll be back. Make sure to check us out wherever podcasts are streaming. Give us a like and subscribe so you don't miss any of our latest content. But once again, the New York Jets get their 4th win of the season. We're going to have a victory Monday. I know some people are upset about the draft stop, but I think this was a good win for the Jets. And we will have a lot to talk about in the coming weeks as we finish up the season and, more importantly, look forward to the 2025 offseason. But I'm your host, Nolan Rich. Until next time, this is Rich Sports Talk. Thank you so much for joining us.